Hi everyone, I'm Jackie from the Winchester High School STEM Education Club, and today we're going to be going over the Oceans and Recycled Art lesson from our website. You can find it under the Art Activities section, and the link will be in the description. So for this lesson, you'll need a piece of paper and a pencil as we go through, and at the end there's an activity with recycled art. For that, you'll need scissors, paper, and whatever other recycled materials you have, but we'll get to that at the end. Alright, thank you for tuning in, and let's get started. So the title of this lesson is The Ocean is Changing, and that is going to be the overarching theme for everything we talk about here, is that the ocean is changing, but there's something that you can do about it. Alright, let's get started. Alright, so this is the first writing activity. The question is, what do you think of when I say the word ocean? And on a piece of paper, write down the words that you are reminded of when I say the word ocean. You can also think about them. For me, I think water, fish, dolphins, all other sea animals, maybe a shipwreck. What about you? Alright, let's find out. So this is a picture that I found that definitely is what I pictured in my mind. There's some dolphins, there's a little Nemo fish here, and I think Dory's right there too. Definitely a shipwreck in the background and some coral. So this is a nice thriving ocean. Definitely what I think of, and of course coral, blue, boats, shells, beaches, all great words to describe ocean. So maybe that's some of what you wrote down. This is another thing that I think of when I think of the ocean. It's Moby and Tim from Brain Pop, and that's just something that I remember because I like Brain Pop, and Tim and Moby are from Brain Pop, and they like to go in the ocean a lot, so that's another thing that I remember. Alright, so the next question is, how do humans use the ocean? And for this one, I'll use paper and pencil to write down with you. So you want to think about what you do in daily life, how you use the ocean. Maybe you go swimming at the beach, maybe you look up pictures of sea animals, and then you're going to ask your family members maybe if they have any ideas. So let's write some stuff down. How do humans use the ocean? Well, I like swimming, so I'm going to write swimming on my sheet. Another thing I think of is boating. You take a boat out on the ocean, maybe a lake, but for this one, the ocean. And I know I like eating fish, and I think that comes from the ocean too. So I'm going to write food as my third option. And of course, you could have more, but let's see some examples on the screen. Alright, so here's what I thought of when I was putting together this slideshow. I thought of medicine, fish, food, of course, with a nice lemon that doesn't come from the sea. Shipping, a lot of big boats go across the ocean. They have these colorful shipping containers. Sometimes they fall off into the ocean too. And then we have all sorts of recreation. We have kayaking, sailboats, jet skis, paddle boards, everything you can think of, and let's always use the ocean for recreation or fun. And if you thought of something else that I didn't, feel free to email us, and you can follow along or find the email in the STEM Education Club website. Alright. So another useful function that you may not know that the ocean has is that it spreads heat across the earth. So what does that mean? First, we have to understand what one thing is, and that is a fossil fuel. So if we break down the word fossil fuel, we know fossil is something that's like a bone underground from a long time ago, and we know that fuels are things that we can burn or use to get energy. So a fossil fuel is when a plant, from the time of the dinosaurs, really long time ago, it died off and it got covered by the ground. Maybe there was a volcanic eruption, something else caused it to be covered, and as that plant got covered with more soil and other things on top of it, it got squished down really hard by the pressure of the ground, and it became a fuel that we can get out of the ocean, sometimes under the ocean, sometimes under the land, and we can get that and burn it for energy. So coal and oil are examples of things that humans burn for energy, and when we burn those, they release step 2, heat and carbon dioxide. So when you breathe in oxygen, and when you breathe out carbon dioxide. And so that carbon dioxide that you breathe out is the stuff that comes out of your mouth, but it also comes out when you release or burn a fuel, a fossil fuel. And the heat is from the burning, it just releases heat energy, and these two go into the air. So the atmosphere, of course, gets warmer, but where does that go? It also goes into the ocean. So if we look at this diagram, as we burn fossil fuels, heat and carbon dioxide get absorbed by this water. And we won't talk about exactly why, but water is made up of molecules. And those molecules take in the heat and carbon dioxide around them and keep it in the water. So the heat and CO2, which is how we write carbon dioxide in chemistry, make the ocean more acidic. And when I think of the word acid, I think of green, maybe something that's bad, and that's exactly what it is. Acidic means it's bad for the ocean. What does that mean for the ocean? Acidic is bad. Let's look at an example of what happens when the ocean becomes more acidic. Acidic, of course, means bad. Higher temperatures in the ocean make it hard for coral and other animals to survive. So all those nice animals that we saw in that first picture, when the ocean is more acidic, it's harder for them to live. And then carbon dioxide, the gas you breathe out, of course, makes it harder for the fish to breathe underwater because there's actually, believe it or not, oxygen dissolved in the water of the ocean. And that's how fish breathe, through their gills. It's called dissolved oxygen. Alright, so when there's carbon dioxide in the water, then there's less room for that dissolved oxygen, and that's not good for the fish. So when this acidic quality is given to the ocean, we call that, this big word, ocean acidification. We see the word acid right there, just like acidic. So just look for that little word acid and you know that it's talking about the ocean being acidic. Alright, so this is a really sad set of pictures because this is a nice healthy coral reef. If we look at it, observe some of its qualities, there's some nice pink coral, lots and lots of fish, and they all look like they're enjoying themselves, just going about their lives. And the ocean is really nice and bright color, and that's the healthy ocean. But after ocean acidification, there's that word again, we have kind of a dead-looking, gray type of ocean. I only see 2 fish, and the water's kind of darker. And this could only be a span of months, weeks, years. So ocean acidification does not help the fish and coral that rely on the ocean. So another thing we can do is observe what happens to this shell over time as it's in the ocean, as it's acidic. So let's look at day 1. It's nice and clear, looks like a normal shell. And then it turns kind of like an opaque white. And then it starts to form cracks on day 26. And then it kind of looks almost gone on day 45. So I want you to take a minute, look at these pictures. What do you think is happening? Ocean acidification is causing the shell to almost disintegrate. It's causing it to crack and fall apart. And if you think of what lives in shells, we have clams, snails, hermit crabs, maybe you've seen some of them when you've been to the beach. Those things rely on shells for their homes. And so when these shells go away, those animals could lose their homes. So that's another bad thing about ocean acidification. Another thing that happens is the sea level rises. Because there's more heat in the ocean, ice caps can melt, and when ice melts, there's more water. So maybe one day, if it keeps going in its current direction, the North Pole will be a tropical island. Now that's a big if, and we can definitely work our hardest to stop that from happening. But it is a very far off possibility. So now let's look at this. This is a town here, lots of colorful houses, some icebergs in the background. But as we see here, there's a lot of water falling from those icebergs because they're melting. So what would happen if these icebergs here melted with this town here? What do you think? I think that it could flood the town. So that's another thing. Higher sea levels means more flooding. So let's look at a map of the US. We have the coastlines marked from green to red. Green meaning low risk of flooding, and red meaning very high risk. Obviously, yellow and orange are in between. So it goes green, yellow, orange, red. And if you have a copy of this slideshow on your computer, I encourage you to pull this up and look at it. So let's observe this map. Great thing to do. Look around. Let's see the places that are at pretty low risk. So we have this little piece here in California. There's a lot of mixed colors here along the coast. Down along the Gulf of Mexico, there's a lot of red, so this is at high risk of flooding. Along Florida, there's yellow, some green along the Gulf of Mexico, but out along the Atlantic Ocean, we get towards red and orange. Going up the coast, lots of red and orange mixed together, and some green up in the northeast. But overall, there's a big chance, or at least a high chance, that if sea level rises, these places would be vulnerable, because this map shows us the coastal vulnerability to sea level rise. And it's great to look at maps because they can tell you a lot about what's going on around you. So let's see what you can do about this. Thankfully, there is time to stop flooding and ocean acidification before it's irreversible. The word irreversible means not able to be stopped. There would be no way to change what happens. So what can you do about this? You, as a single person, you can make a difference to help the oceans from climate change, which is the big word we use to describe ocean acidification, flooding, sea level rise, and a bunch of other problems caused by heat and carbon dioxide. Walk or bike to school? A bunch of you might do this already. It's great to get exercise and it helps the planet because we're not using cars and releasing CO2 and heat into the air. Next thing is you can turn off lights when you leave a room. Obviously, lights use energy, and that is caused by burning fossil fuels, coal or oil, and natural gas sometimes. And that's used for your electricity. So if we turn off the lights, or train your dog to turn off the lights, that's good for the environment. And the last thing, which is what we're going to talk about today for our activity, is recycling. Obviously, we know the universal symbol for recycling on all these bins. Some people split it up further into colored bins for paper, glass, metal, and plastic, though the colors do vary, so these are not always the colors. And of course, recycling can save the earth. So let's see what we can do about that. So we're going to use your trash and recyclables that you can find around your house so they don't end up in the ocean like you see here, and you can use it for art. Alright, so this is a Great Pacific Garbage Patch. Obviously we do not want our trash to end up here because that is hurting animals. You can find the instructions to this activity on the website and the materials along with examples. So I hope you have fun and enjoy your recycled art. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.